Alright, so you're ready to install some louvers. This video kind of assumes you already used your template, laid out your cut lines. I don't drill my holes with the template. I wait until I have the louver in there so that I can kind of move it around if I want to, but you can do it either way. Now we got the hole out, the main cut, and you come in with some form of rotary. You can use a Dremel, whatever, a little carbide bit. You're just going to round out all those corners that you couldn't get with the 4.5. I mean, you can cut this with an air saw as well. You're just going to blend in everything, make everything nice and smooth. And you can test fit your louver at this point. Make sure there's nothing catching on any of the vanes and everything sits nice. You can tell I'm finicking with the back. There was something still touching the rear louver. So I take a little mental note of where I want to adjust, and I come back in and blend in that area. And then I'm playing with all the corners a little bit. There, you got it right now. So then once you get it in there, you want to center it up in the given space, checking your body lines with your edge of the louvers. And once you got it all lined up where you like it, you could tape it in place. I just put weight on with my hand on it, and then I drill that front center hole. And there's 2 layers to this portion of the hood. So you go through the first layer, and then you can pop through that second layer. Just be aware that you're not drilling into something in your engine bay. You gotta know what's under there. And then once I get the bolt that I forgot to put in my pocket, I can put that bolt into that front hole so that it acts like an anchor, so that I know that front's going to stay where I want it, and I can kind of pivot the back and double check my body lines. And then once I got that all happy, I'll hold it down, and then I'll put the center rear hole in. The rear hole, that rear center hole, it's 2 layers, but the layers are like smashed together in the hood. So it's just going to feel like you're drilling through something thick. You're not going to get that 2-layer feel when you're drilling. And then you can take the louver back off and then go underneath and open up that front hole that you drilled through the second layer with a step bit or a larger drill bit. You just want to open it up to the same size as your socket that you're going to use so that it'll clear that bottom layer. Don't drill into the top layer. That's where your bolt is. You want that to stay at a 3/16. So once you did that, you can throw the bolt in, throw the louver on, slide your bolt in, and then you can put your nut on the socket. That's why we use flange head nuts, so we're not finicking around with washers, and it'll stay on the end of the socket for you. And then it could be a little tricky to get a grab of the threads because you're going through that lower layer. You can press the socket and nut up against that top layer and get a visual of it lining up with the top hole from the top, and then throw your bolt in. And then that bottom hole, you can see that the double layer is kind of on top of each other, so we don't need to drill that second hole. We just push the bolt through right there and then put the nut on. And at this point, that front bolt should be slightly loose so that you can line up that rear one. And then once you get this rear one in, you can snug it up a little bit so won't move around when we go back up top. Now we're back up top. The louver's in place, it's not moving, so we can go through and drill the remaining holes. Remember, you're going to go through the top layer and then go as straight as possible down through the second layer. And just make sure there's nothing underneath it that you're going to drill through that you don't want to. And just go slow, drill through the second layer. You're using the louver as a template, so you just line it up and punch through. The rear holes, the second layer is a little further down, or you're kind of drilling through the edge, so it's going to want to pull. Just hold it straight, and then you can get through that second layer. There you can kind of see it going through the first layer and then the second layer. Then you go back underneath, and you can see all those little holes we poked through. We're going to go open them up with that same step bit or larger drill bit. Some of these holes end up right on the corner of that lower layer, so you got to get into them kind of at an angle and then straighten out once you get the bit started. Otherwise, you're just going to walk all over the hood. That one's on the corner, but unfortunately not in frame. You see, once I get it started, I start pulling it back straight. Right there, you got the wires for your marker lights in your grill. You don't want to hit those. You can pull them out of your way a little bit. This one's on the corner, so you'll see that I point myself straight at the corner, and then as it gets started, I'll pull it back towards me to straighten it out. But yeah, once you got all those lower holes drilled, you're just drilling through the lower portion of the grill. You're not going through to the top. I like to come in with just a little box knife blade and clean up the holes, because that fiberglass kind of splinters sometimes. And do as you see fit there, but clean it up nice, and then you can go back from the top side and throw all your bolts in and get all the nuts on there. Get everything hand tight first, and then you can snug them up all the way around. It doesn't need to be crazy tight, barely hand tight. Just get engaged in the nylock of the nut, and you don't want to pinch that fiberglass too much and crack it. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. You can now trim the valance underneath a little bit larger hole, so that you can put that foam valance back underneath the hood if you see fit. Thank you guys.